Hello, this is Idodmg and welcome back to the channel. Finally got my hands on Diablo 4 with the closed beta, and I leveled up a couple classes here and I really am enjoying my time. I got a level 25 Barbarian, level 25 Sorceress, and a level 11 Rogue. Not super impressed with the Rogue, but in today's video I want to talk to you about the build that I've had the most fun playing. Sorceress has been my favorite class out of this closed beta weekend. You gotta remember the Necro and Druid was not available during this beta, so I'll be checking those out next weekend, but the Sorceress by far has been my most favorite. And I don't know if it's just a combination of all the different skills, and I don't know. When I went into this thing, I was planning on going with a lightning build, because it has some cooldown reduction and things like that tied to it. However, the game decided to hand me a bunch of a frost build legendary items. So let's go ahead and just talk briefly about my skill setup. Now, the skill tree in Diablo 4 is pretty shallow, but what adds an extra layer to the skill customization and builds is those legendary affixes. And also, so if you get, it's different than Diablo 3. If you get a legendary that has an ability you like, and then maybe you have a legendary but it has an ability on it that you don't like, you can take the legendary power from the ability you do like and extract it and turn it into an aspect, and then put that aspect onto a different legendary piece of gear. So I really like that aspect of the game. Now the skills I have set up here is our primary is going to be Frost Bolt, and this will just help chill enemies and also generate mana. You also have a chance to explode chilled enemies, which will hit surrounding enemies obviously, so there's your little bit of AoE. And all of this really just synergizes together. Frostbolt Bolt, as I said, also generates mana. Here you go, here's a little teaser at combat. You always open up a Blizzard, a Freeze, or Frost Nova, and then finish it off with your Frostball. Frozen Orb. I butchered the names of all the skills. I think I got Blizzard right. But basically, you're going to drop down your Blizzard, and then you're going to go ahead and drop down your Frost Nova, freeze them in Blizzard, and keeping them vulnerable. You see how their health names were purple? That means they're vulnerable. And they take, I believe I think it's 20% more damage. Here you go. I just love, look at this. It's just so fun. And then we're out of mana, so we'll go ahead and get our frost bolts going here to regen that mana. Now, when I freeze these monsters, see how I'm automatically casting this shard ability at him? I'm not even, this is auto cast, purely auto casting. I'm going to go ahead and finish them off with frozen orbs. We can talk a little bit more about the build here. And then this is my ultimate ability here. This is the deep freeze, I think it's called. We'll talk about it all here. I just wanted to show the actual gameplay, because that's really where the build shines, obviously. So when they were frozen and I was shooting out those ice shards automatically, what was actually happening here is this is the enchant mechanic with the Sorceress. So here's just a glance at that skill tree. Okay, so we got our basic attack, Frozen Bolt. We're using our Frozen Orb, which is going to synergize with this legendary power right here, where the orb stays in place after reaching its destination and will explode 2 more times. It only does 27% damage, but see, it stays in place. Pretty cool. So, and I really like that, because if the monsters, you know, are say right up in front of you, you got to kind of back it up a little bit so that it hits where the monsters are. So it adds a little bit of skill there. And then back on that basic attack, Frozen Bolt, we have another legendary power here that actually, where'd it go? Ice shards pierce 3 times, dealing less damage per enemy hit, but it pierces now, which is awesome. And then we have the third ability is I actually skip my conjuration skills and go straight Frozen Orb, and then we have the Frost Nova, which I would love to spec into this more. Now you can see it's blue where it says 3 out of 5, and I actually only have 2 skill points in this. I have a piece of gear that is giving me an extra point in that ability, and it's actually these boots right here, +1 rank of Frost Nova. I'd love to overpower this even further, and you can actually go past the max 5 points by doing this. So I feel like there's going to be breakpoints and thresholds that you're going to be wanting to do that for in different skills with overpowering them. And then we went into Blizzard, which is a mastery skill, and then Deep Freeze. And I think I'm actually going to take Deep Freeze off of here, because while I was making this video I realized I had Frost or Ice Armor here. I have a legendary power for. So we're going to go ahead and put my points into here. And then each of the main nodes always has 1 node and then 2 that you can choose from. And that's really it for the skill tree options. So that first node's going to give us mana regen, which I don't know if I'm really committed to that yet. Otherwise, we can get more damage against vulnerable enemies. Will give me more barrier. Or enemies you hit while armor's active have chance to become frozen. I really like that one, to have a chance to freeze enemies. However, I don't have enough points in the beta to get there, so I'm just going to go ahead and put my extra point here into ice armor. Get it up to 3 out of 5. And that's really it. I mean, there's ultimates down here that I'm not using, and I probably should be, but I mean, with the way that this build's set up, it's really nice. That ice armor, here's the legendary I was talking about here. While ice armor is active, you leave behind exploding ice spikes that deal 74 damage. So there's what that legendary looks like. You can see the little ice spikes blowing up there. Pretty cool. The AoE is actually pretty decent size on them as well. My favorite legendary power, though, is when I freeze them in these auto cast ice shards, and you can see the ice shards that are cast that way do pierce, so those legendary powers are synergizing together as well. We'll just go ahead and do this little event here, and then we will get back to the video here as well. I'm going to speed it up for you too, just so we can get through it and get back to talking to you about the sorcerers. I actually ended up failing the event here, and I don't know why. I was too distracted trying to drink my drink here this morning while I make the video, so we ended up failing it. Overall, whatever happens. Now, I also wanted to point out over here on the blizzard, the reason we have this blizzard is obviously for the chill, but it also allows us to have our core skills cost less mana, which Frozen Orb happens to be a core skill. So that's also why I'm using blizzard. So you want to make sure you always pop up your blizzard, freeze, and then do your Frozen Orbs. And see how we have it all right in that one area. That's really how this build's going to work. Now, this build is really great for big groups of enemies. However, for bosses, I would probably respec into a damage over time build. Or, I don't know, there's probably other builds for boss killing that I just haven't found yet. But this one's great for clearing dungeons and world events and stuff like that. So a couple more legendary powers here that I have that really benefit the build is this one here. When you hit a crowd controlled enemy, there's up to a 42% chance that a crowd control effect will spread to another unaffected enemy. I don't know if I've seen this necessarily work a lot with the freezing of enemies, but in my head it sounds cool, so I don't know. I'm gonna keep it. I don't feel like it's necessarily required for the build. We also have this one over here, which is how I have 2 charges of Frost Nova, but there's more of a cooldown. But you can see right here I have 2 charges now, which is really nice. So as soon as they would break out of that frozen, I can just freeze them again. And then that's continually casting the frost shards from our enchantment here. There is so many different enchantments. Maybe I'll have a video showing off all the enchantments. I don't know. Make sure you subscribe and follow for more Diablo 4 videos like that. Keep going here though. We have another one. When you damage an elite, you can get a barrier. So whenever you damage an elite, you can get a barrier that lasts for 10 seconds. And this one's going to go hand in hand with this legendary power over here that increases damage while you have barrier active, which is also why I went into ice armor. So I can get even more barrier. And then we're just kind of getting that extra damage from that ring over there. Down here we have ice armor. We already talked about that one. We have the frozen orb that stays in place. We've talked about that a few times. We have this one here. Attacking enemies with the basic skill increases the damage of your next core skill by 8% up to 50%. So this one's pretty cool. Let's see if I can find a monster here and show you what this actually looks like. So you can see down here we're getting those stacks, and you can stack it up to 50, believe it or not. So we have 50 stacks. Now let's go ahead and use our core ability, which is Frozen Orb, and see how much more extra damage we actually do. Here we go, we found these dudes. They'll probably die pretty quick. I don't think it did much damage. Let's go ahead and do my little rotation here and freeze them so we can get our orb to tick. And my ice shards just killed them. You probably don't even really need it, but there we go. Maybe they'll stay in there and tick. Let's go build up our stacks again. I think they hit for 65, 75 was kind of the range there. Let's hit this shaman, see what it ticks for. 120. So it does give us a damage increase. You know, that damage is just going to go up. The higher level you get, the more gear you get, the more damage you get, and all that stuff. 150 there. There's another stack of 50. Let's hit this caver. 253. So it works. We confirmed it. And that one's pretty cool. And you can find different ranges of that as well. I found it so that each basic attack gives you, it was like 15% towards that 50. So then you only have to cast it, your basic attack 4 times to get your full stacks. But anyway, then last but not least, we have basic attacks gain 48% attack speed. That's really what the entire build is. And that's going to wrap it up for this Frost build on the Sorceress on Diablo 4. Again, this was just during the early access beta, so it's only up to level 25, but I really had the most fun on this so far. I've only played the Rogue up to level 20, a Barbarian up to 25, and I just really like the Sorceress, and I hope you enjoyed talking about Diablo 4. If you enjoyed the video, make sure you do like and subscribe, and we can talk about more Diablo 4, Last Epoch, and other action RPGs. As always, thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.